I've been doing FIFO, fly in, fly out, for 10 years. I've worked gold in Kalgoorlie, gas off the coast of Karratha, and lithium down south. I thought I'd seen it all. I've seen blokes snap from the isolation. I've seen machinery swallow utes whole. But I've never seen anything like Site 4. It's a new operation, deep in the Pilbara. Red dirt as far as the eye can see. 45 degrees in the shade, and the flies are thick enough to choke you. I landed in Newman yesterday on the 6 a.m. flight. The company bus took us 3 hours into the scrub. No reception, no windows that opened, just the hum of the aircon and 20 blokes trying to sleep off their hangovers before the swing started. We rolled through the security gates around 10 a.m. Right away, something felt off. Usually, a camp is buzzing. Shifts changing, trucks moving, sparkies yelling at fitters. Site 4 was dead quiet. The machinery was running. I could hear the crushers grinding away in the distance. But there was nobody walking around. Just the heat shimmer coming off the asphalt. I grabbed my kit bag and walked to the admin block to check in. The camp manager was a bloke named Davo. I'd worked with him back in 18. Good bloke, usually full of jokes. But when I walked in, he didn't look up. He was staring at his screens, typing furiously. Sweat was beading on his forehead, even though the AC was cranked. "G'day, Davo," I said, dropping my bag. "Back for another swing, mate." He flinched, actually jumped in his chair. He looked at me. His eyes were wide, bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. "Jacko?" he whispered. "Yeah, mate. Who else? You right?" He looked at his screen. Then he looked at me. Then back at the screen. He swallowed hard. Yeah, right. Just system errors. Computers playing up." He didn't smile. He printed my swipe card and slid it across the desk without touching my hand. "You're in Donga C14, he said. "Same as last time. Just go straight there, yeah? Don't wander around. Safety ordered on." "Righto," I said. I walked out into the heat. C block was the furthest Donga from the mess hall, a long row of white shipping containers baking in the sun. I walked up the metal steps to C14. I was knackered. All I wanted was a shower and a nap before night shift. I tapped my fresh keycard on the lock. Beep, beep, beep. Red light. Access denied. "For fuck's sake," I muttered. I wiped the dust off the card and tried again. Beep, beep, beep. Red light. I was about to kick the door when I heard it. Inside the room, the shower was running. I froze. Admin must have double booked the room. Classic. I banged on the metal door. "Oi, mate, I think you're in my room." The shower stopped instantly. I waited. I heard wet footsteps on the lino floor. Heavy footsteps. Thud, thud, thud. The lock clicked from the inside. The door swung open. I opened my mouth to have a go at the bloke. And the words died in my throat. Standing there, wearing a towel, and holding my Bluetooth brush. It was me. Not a bloke who looked like me. It wasn't a resemblance. It was me. He had my face, my 3-day stubble. He had the scar on his chin from when I came off a motorbike in Bali. He even had the tattoo on his left shoulder. The Southern Cross, slightly faded from the sun. My brain couldn't process it. I felt dizzy. The heat, the flies, the silence. It all swirled together. The other me looked at me. He didn't look surprised. He didn't look scared. He looked annoyed. He leaned against the doorframe, mimicking my exact posture. "You're late, Jacko," he said, and it was my voice. My exact voice. "Who are you?" I managed to stammer. He smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was cold. Predatory. "Shift started an hour ago, mate," he said. Davo was going to be pissed. Then, he slammed the door in my face. I stood there in the sun for a full minute, staring at the white metal. I reached out and touched the door, just to make sure it was real. It was burning hot. I turned around and ran. I sprinted back to the admin block. I burst through the doors. Davo jumped up again. "Davo!" I yelled. "There's a bloke in my room. He looks exactly like me. He's using my name." Davo didn't ask questions. He didn't say, "Don't be silly." He just closed his eyes and let out a long, shaky breath. He reached under the desk and pressed a silent alarm button. I saw the LED on his phone turn red. "Davo, what is going on?" I asked, leaning over the desk. He looked at me with pure pity. "Jacko," he said softly, "sit down." He turned his monitor around so I could see it. It was the site roster. "Look," he said, pointing a trembling finger. I looked. Name, Jackson Miller. Status, on shift. Check-in, 4 days ago. Shift hours, 48 hours, continuous. "You've been here for 4 days, Jacko," Davo whispered. "You checked in on Tuesday." "I just got off the bloody plane," I screamed. "Here's my boarding pass." I slammed the pass on the desk. Davo looked at it. Then he looked at the security camera feed on the other screen. He pointed at camera 04, the mess hall. "If you just got off the plane," Davo said, "then who is that?" On the screen, sitting at a table eating a steak, was me. And sitting opposite me, eating a salad, was also me. 2 of them. "That's not possible," I whispered. Davo picked up the radio. He didn't look at me anymore. "Control," he said. "Code black in admin. We have a syncing error. The original has arrived." The office lights turned red. A siren started wailing. Not a fire alarm, but a low vibrating hum that I could feel in my teeth. Davo reached for a drawer. I thought he was grabbing a weapon. He pulled out a radio. "Run," he whispered. Get to the boneyard. Don't trust anyone in a uniform." "Davo, come with me." He shook his head. He looked at the door. Heavy boots were thudding down the hallway. "I can't," he said. "I'm already compromised." He rolled up his sleeve. There, on his forearm, was a patch of skin that looked like wet clay. It was shifting, rippling. like his DNA couldn't decide what shape to be. "Go!" he screamed. I kicked the back door open and sprinted into the heat. The camp was in chaos. Men were pouring out of the dongas. But they weren't running in panic. They were marching. Perfect lines, perfect silence. Hundreds of them. I saw 3 versions of a fitter named Bluey. They were walking shoulder to shoulder, carrying the exact same toolbox. I ducked behind a row of generators and scrambled towards the perimeter fence. My only chance was the boneyard, the graveyard where they dumped the broken dump trucks and excavators. I squeezed through a hole in the chain link fence and dove under the chassis of a rusted Cat 793 hauler. I lay there in the red dirt, trying to slow my breathing. Thud, thud, thud. Boots on the gravel. I peered out from under the tyre. 2 security guards were walking past. They weren't carrying guns. They were carrying cattle prods. And they weren't wearing safety glasses. Their eyes were just white, no pupils, just milky white jelly. "Subject is biological," one of them buzzed. His voice sounded like a speaker with a torn cone. "Subject is the original. Do not damage the biomass. We need the template." They walked past. I waited until nightfall. The temperature dropped, but the air still felt heavy, metallic. I crawled deeper into the boneyard. I needed a vehicle. Everything here was stripped for parts, except for an old Land Cruiser service ute at the back of the lot. I smashed the window with a rock and popped the hood to hotwire it. That's when I saw the logbook sitting on the passenger seat. It wasn't a maintenance log, it was a research journal. Stamped with the company logo, but the department was listed as xenogeology. I opened it under the moonlight. The handwriting was shaky. Entry 44, the mimics are learning. They don't just copy form anymore. They copy memory. They copy pain. Entry 52, we made a mistake digging in Sector 4. It wasn't an iron ore deposit. It was a hive. The red dirt, it's alive. It wants to be us. Entry 60, efficiency is up 400%. Why pay a worker a wage when the soil can clone him for free? The shareholders are pleased. I felt sick. This wasn't a haunting. It was a cost-cutting measure. I managed to spark the cruiser's engine. It coughed to life, spewing black smoke. The noise gave me away instantly. Floodlights snapped on across the boneyard. The siren wailed again. I slammed it into gear and floored it. The ute fishtailed through the dirt, smashing through a pile of pallets. I aimed for the main gate, but standing in the middle of the road, blocking the exit, was the welcoming committee. It was me, the clone from my room. He was holding a heavy steel crowbar. He didn't move as 2 tons of bull-barred Land Cruiser roared towards him. He just smiled. I didn't break. I couldn't. Thump. He hit the bull bar, but he didn't bounce off like a person. He splashed. For a second, the windscreen was covered in red mud. Not blood, just wet, heavy Pilbara dirt. He had dissolved on impact, turning back into the soil he came from. I hit the wipers, the mud smeared. I drove blind, smashing through the boom gate, shattering the windscreen. I didn't lift my foot off the accelerator for 3 hours. I drove until the fuel lights screamed. I drove until I hit the tarmac of the Great Northern Highway. I abandoned the ute at a roadhouse near Newman. I hitchhiked south with a truckie, who didn't ask why I was covered in red dust and shaking like a leaf. I'm back in Perth now. I grew a beard, changed my name, but I can't sleep. Because yesterday, I got a letter in the mail. It was from the mining company. It wasn't a lawsuit. It wasn't a termination notice. It was a performance bonus statement. According to their records, I'm still on site. I'm working double shifts. I've never taken a sick day. I am the perfect employee. And sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see a patch of skin on my arm that looks a little too smooth, a little too clay-like. And I wonder, did I escape? Or am I just another copy that thinks it's real?